July 5th edition of studentloanjustice.org. We are studentloanjustice.org. We are the oldest, largest, first, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We're glad that you found us. We've got over 1.4 million members between our Facebook and Twitter and email and our petition, which is the majority of them. If you're new to the group, welcome. We're glad that you found us. Please spread the word about this group right here. We're pretty much it, guys. We're pretty much the only group in existence actually fighting this fight the way it needs to be fought. We originated the idea of student loan cancellation by executive order, but far more important than that is that Congress returned the constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy. Whether you would ever or never file is not important to student loans. So we're glad that you found us. As I said, tell a friend. Everybody with student loans needs to know about us. So it's been a very busy couple of weeks, guys. I have a couple of announcements. If you are willing to be interviewed and you do not intend on repaying your loans, that seems to be a pretty popular theme in the past month or so. Let us know. We've got a number of media requests looking for people to interview on that topic. We were in the past couple of weeks, we've been featured at Fox News and The Guardian and Newsweek multiple times, and on and on and on and on and on. It's been really kind of a whirlwind, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, throw your comments out, and I'm very happy to read them aloud on air. Sorry I'm late tonight, by the way, guys. I got sort of carried away out in the yard, and anyways, so here I am. I hope everybody had a really good 4th of July. I would urge everyone, by the way, we did one of the best interviews we've ever done with, of all stations, Fox News, believe it or not. They did an in-depth half-hour interview with us, and I strongly suggest you go to our website and look at the top media thing on the main page, and listen. It's an audio thing. It's Fox News Radio, actually. Listen to that interview for yourself, and you can understand how student loan injustice uniquely goes back to the beginnings of this country, like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution itself. So I'm going to look for your questions and comments here on Twitter tonight and on Facebook. So if you have any questions or comments, I'm very happy to read them aloud on air if I can see them. Not always a guarantee. I'm going to try and keep this live stream very short, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully less than 15 minutes. So if I'm talking too fast, just rewind this. 2 announcements. Number 1, I've got to do the fundraising, guys. I've got to. We still need around 45 people to donate $10 or more this week for quite urgent expenses. So like the $450 that we need to raise. We don't need to raise a huge amount of money to survive, fight, and win this battle. Really only enough to keep the organization going on the internet, on our phone, and obviously to keep yours truly alive and eating and stuff like that. So your personal gifts are greatly appreciated and absolutely needed, dudes. It would be a real shame if this group disappeared for lack of the relative nickels and dimes that we need to survive, fight, and win this battle. So tonight, let's talk about this, guys. This loan cancellation that got quashed by the Supreme Court, I think it'll probably come back to the court. I think it'll probably get tried again under far more appropriate law. Like President Biden used something called the HEROES Act, which was emergency authorization legislation. It was stupid. There was no good reason to do that, in my humble opinion. He could have just used the Higher Education Act, Section 1082. I think they probably will try that again. But the bottom line, guys, is that, yeah, the Republicans totally screwed us. There's no doubt. We're a fiercely nonpartisan group, guys. We hate both parties. Republicans fought against this loan cancellation tooth and nail every step in the way. But guys, the dirty little secret here is that the Democrats really never wanted, at least the establishment Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, like President Biden himself, like Susan Rice, like many, many, many others. They never wanted to cancel student loans by executive order. That is kind of kryptonite in Washington, D.C. And I'm going to explain to you tonight why that is. And more to the point, why Congress will and should never cancel student loans. That's true. Guys, here's the thing. The dirty little secret is that the Democrats are beholden to the lending program. They want to keep that lending program alive at all costs, despite the fact that it's constitutionally unsound, the fact that it's viciously predatory, the fact that it is ruining the lives of the overwhelming majority of people who get student loans. I kid you not. And let me show you this quick quote. This is Wayne Johnson. This is the guy who ran the federal lending program just before Biden, under President Trump. So his name is Wayne Johnson. He ran the federal student loan program under Trump. And here's what Wayne Johnson said. So he was hired by the Department of Education. Smart guy, good guy, pretty good guy. I know the guy, good, decent guy. Old Georgia Republican gentleman. And so Wayne Johnson came, he looked at the lending program, and within a pretty short amount of time, like a matter of months, like 6 months or less, I think, or maybe 6 or 7 months, he quit. He said, nope, I quit. This thing is a disaster. I'm not doing this. And he was interviewed in 2021. I talked to him in 2020 right around the time that COVID was starting. And he said at that time, he said that 85, and this is an article that he was interviewed in, so this is for the record. He said that 85% of all federal student loan borrowers, even before the pandemic, were never going to be able to repay their loans. So he quit his job. He ran for Senate, and then he ran for Congress in Georgia, unsuccessfully, unfortunately. But that goes to show you how failed this lending program is, guys. And by the way, this guy, Wayne Johnson, he actually called for widespread loan cancellation. I kid you not. That was before the partisan lines had been drawn around the issue. And he also called strongly for the return of bankruptcy rights to the loans. So, but here's the dirty little secret, guys. The Democrats don't want it. Susan Rice, Nancy Pelosi, probably most California members of Congress, truly, because there's something called the Swig family, an old money family in California. And they are adamant that, no, we do not want to cancel student loans by executive order. We want to, Congress has to approve cancellation of student loans. And here is the big point here, guys. When the president cancels student loans by executive order, like Donald Trump did, not once but twice, don't forget that. He did it for disabled veterans in the summer of 2019. He did it again at the onset of COVID with the repayment pause, which canceled a ton of student loan debt. When the president cancels loans by executive order, no money goes to Washington, D.C. No money has to be raised from the taxpayers or from the Treasury. No money is added to the national debt. No money is printed. In fact, no cash even changes hands. Now, for the taxpayer, that's a very good thing. That's obvious, right? Like, why wouldn't you cancel it? What other way would you cancel? Would you write off this bad debt? Well, here's how: by Congress. That's what the bad guys want. And here's why. Congress operates under these pay-go rules. So if they enact legislation that costs anything, according to the Congressional Budget Office, they have to find ways to pay for it. So if they want to cancel $1 in federal student loans, they have to raise $1 from somewhere, probably the taxpayer. That's the way that goes. So in order to give everybody, let's say, for instance, a $10,000 write-off on their student loans, they would have to raise $440 billion from the taxpayer. They'd have to raise taxes. They'd have to sell bonds. They'd have to raise money in all the ways that the federal government raises money. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is completely ridiculous. So, for example, let's say somebody borrows $10,000, right? Well, the federal government pays $10,000 for that student loan. Now, let's imagine 15, 20, 25 years down the road, that borrower got screwed like the vast majority of student loan borrowers get screwed. And sure, they may have already repaid $10, maybe $15, maybe $20,000, but their loan balance is, say, $30,000. So in order to cancel that $30,000 in loans through Congress, they have to raise $30,000 from the taxpayer, and I assume pay that money into the Treasury or pay that money to the Department of Education so that they can cancel the loans. Think about how fucking stupid that is. Pardon my French, ladies and gentlemen. But why should the federal government, who already paid for these loans many years ago, didn't pay much, paid $10,000, why would the federal government now have to cough up an additional $30,000 to pay for canceling a loan that it already owns? That's how Congress is obligated to do that. So anytime you hear anyone saying, oh, it has to go through Congress, whether they know what they're talking about or not, chances are they're just a Twitter idiot who just saw it in an article and from some asshole that he likes, and he's just repeating it. But every time you see that, guys, that is our opposition. That's our enemy at work. And by the way, it will never happen. Congress, look how Congress can't pass their way out of a fucking paper bag right now, certainly under a mixed Congress, even under last session's democratically controlled Congress, where the House, the Senate, and the presidency were controlled by the Democrats. The Democrats didn't do dick. In fact, they went out of their way to betray us on our number one, the most important priority, if you want student loan justice, and that is returning bankruptcy protections to the loans. So, but pardon my French, ladies and gentlemen, but this whole thing that we've watched over the past 3 years with loan cancellation, which started on this group, by the way, and to those of you out there who've been with us the whole time and saw it go from us screaming it from the rooftops and nobody listening to all of a sudden being top of the election issue and top of the news issue to the Supreme Court. That all started on this group, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not. And I can prove that, actually. It's a matter of record. So, but the past 3 years, ladies and gentlemen, have been a complete shit show. It's the Democrats, and I know most people on this group are like, the Republicans, and I agree, the Republicans are fucking evil, pardon my French. But guys, it's a good cop, bad cop thing. Both parties are against us. The Democrats had a long-standing promise to return bankruptcy rights to student loans, going back to 2016 and before. Well, here, finally, after years and years and years, 15 years, or a little less, 12 years of waiting for them to finally get their power back in Congress and the presidency, like Barack Obama had briefly from, I think, 2008, 2010, the Democrats brutally, viciously betrayed us. They had great bankruptcy legislation that they could have passed easily. In fact, they could have passed it with bipartisan support. And they made a conscious decision not to pass the legislation. They abandoned the bill, S-2598 in the Senate, HR 9110 in the House. And so it was just terrible. So guys, we're getting screwed here every time we turn around. The Democrats screwed us. The Republicans totally screwed us. Joe Biden never even wanted to cancel these loans. We have no party, guys. We literally have no political party that is actually fighting for us. What they are doing is dangling little carrots in front of our nose, the Democrats, and pimping us for votes. That's what's happening, guys. I don't know who I hate more, the Democrats or the Republicans. Like, do you hate the guy that you know is your enemy, or do you hate the guy who claims to be your friend, but when it comes time for him to actually prove it, he stabs you in the back? Which is worse? I don't know. So anyways, I'm going to look for your questions and comments tonight. And by the way, I wrote an article about this. If you go to our Medium channel, you can see the article where the headline is something to the effect that Congress cannot cancel loans, or maybe the real reason Joe Biden doesn't want to cancel loans. I think that's probably the more appropriate one. So check us out on Medium, and you can see an article that describes that very clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so important that you guys get your heads in the game. Like, to those tried and true, longtime veteran warrior members, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to everybody else. We could have won this battle last session, guys. And the reason that we didn't was because more people didn't help us. They sat on the sidelines and they got distracted by the other fucking nonsense groups that are frankly corrupted, guys. I'm just going to say the other groups are completely full of shit. They're not fighting for bankruptcy, which is the key to this whole problem. They are pimping this problem. We are not. I'm a defaulted student loan borrower, ladies and gentlemen. I want nothing more than to get these loans gone. And the Democrats betrayed us last session, and it's going to get ugly. But more people, including you, need to be helping us. And look at if you're wondering what you can do, look at the things scrolling below. Do the daily action. Do the daily action. It's the easiest thing, the first thing that you need to do. In fact, I would say if you're new to the group, do 2 weeks or a month worth of the daily actions. Okay, guys, I'm looking for your questions and comments right now. And again, sorry I'm late tonight. Hey, Nicholas Slinky's with us tonight. Hey, Nicholas. Nicholas asks, I think I'm going to have to cut it short, guys, just for time. But Nicholas says, there were actually 2 sessions behind that SCOTUS case last Friday. None of the lawsuits held any standing on the first. The second was based on the opinions doctrine, which overturned the forgiveness. But that doesn't matter. It was such a foisted gimmick. We need bankruptcy back to get any cancellation. Yeah, you're absolutely right. First of all, Joe Biden, there was 2 Supreme Court cases. There was one that only weighed in on the standing of some plaintiffs who brought a case. And in that case, they found that the plaintiffs did not have standing. In the second case, they were asked to decide. There was also a standing issue about whether the state of Missouri had standing to bring the case, but more to the point, whether the president did in fact have the authority to cancel loans by executive order using the HEROES Act. And I'm not going to get into too much detail, guys, but they did find that the state of Missouri had standing, which is nonsense, guys. The state of Missouri is losing money by these loans not being canceled. Think about the economic activity and the state, sales tax, other taxes that would have increased because of this loan cancellation. That would have far outweighed any cost in servicing fees that a state, quote unquote, state agency called MOHELA would have lost. It would have paled in comparison. So it was all nonsense. And then again, obviously the court found that the president does not have the power to cancel loans under the HEROES Act. So the court did not even decide on whether the president has the power under the Higher Education Act, Section 1082. And that's very far broader authority, which gives the Secretary of Education, aka thus the president, full, broad, unambiguous authority to waive, compromise, and release the federal interest in student loans. So, guys, these lawsuits were a complete theater. They were just performative in the first place. Quite frankly, I think the Democrats, including Joe Biden and others, never even wanted to win that case. I actually was predicting that they were going to affirm the ruling because I didn't think the student loan swamp would actually go so far as to let a sitting president announce a cancellation only to have to rescind that cancellation. And quite frankly, I didn't think that the swamp was willing to piss off the citizenry as much as denying the loan cancellation is sure to do. But I was wrong. The swamp, it was a big fuck you to the people. And when I say the swamp, I mean a lot of different actors in Washington, D.C., but primarily the Department of Education, the loan servicers. I would say the colleges also are in there, and just a swamp, a cesspool of other little creeping things in and around the Department of Education, NGOs, others in Washington, D.C., on both sides of the aisle. I really didn't think they would have the chutzpah to slap the citizens in the face that hard. But here we are, guys. It's the Wild West out there. And the number one thing, and I hope that you'll go to our website, and I hope that you'll look at our press release. Go to the daily actions, and you can see the press release from the day of the ruling. We are urging everybody to not pay your student loans unless and until they return the right of bankruptcy to these loans as they exist for all other loans in this country. These loans are not constitutional, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody making payments on their loans, people are going to do what they're going to do. But we are urging everyone to defer, forbear, or otherwise withhold payments. Don't feed the beast. It only fucking keeps this thing going and wrecks the lives of everyone. Instead of feeding the beast, help us fight. It's not hard. We came very close last session with just a few more people helping us doing our daily actions. We'll get there. But just quit being weak. I think the founding fathers are looking down and they're wondering, how did our citizens get so weak? How did they allow themselves to be scared into living off the grid, living with their tail in between their legs, afraid of their federal government? That's exactly what the founding fathers didn't want. So think about that, guys. And for those of you who are out there fighting this battle, and you know who you are, I salute you. To everybody else who's waiting, watching, worrying, being a wallflower, wondering what they're going to do is, pardon my French, fuck us. As long as you don't fight. That's what they're going to do. As long as you sit there waiting, watching, and worrying on the sidelines. So it's going to get interesting coming up, guys. I'm sorry I took so long tonight, but it's been a while since I did a live stream. So I'll be back tomorrow. Hang in there. Just remember everything I said tonight. It's very important. We're making history here, and we need you. So take heart, buck up, and get ready. And buckle up. And bulletproof yourself, because it is going to get tough. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good luck. God bless. And Godspeed, everyone.